going to SI.
The breach opened. That's good pressure. 20 seconds now remains. Told you probably needs to go for the drop. They need to time this to perfection or elevate. Might be able to clean up.
Oh, the ping.
Bricks, though. Oh, that's huge.
That's on a Gary Gorn. It's Mr. Punch in a 1 versus 2. Into red time we go. He gets the first. That's diffuser down. He can play right off of that. Told you, does not have the time. No diffuser. And potentially off the back of that round, no major for the Gaming Gladiators. But it is almost all but certain that Elevate, the pride of Thailand and the pride of APAC South, should very well be heading to the 6th Invitational.
After stage 3, there was a lot going on in terms of the field issues where the team had to move out of the team house and not everybody was in the team house like they were for the last couple of stages. So obviously we didn't make the major after making Charlotte and Berlin from stage 1 and stage 2, but we were able to secure enough points to get to SI. So heading into SI, it was the team knew what they needed to work on. There was a lot of hope and optimism going into SI. In terms of expectations for SI, after stage 3, the ideal scenario would have been to repeat our success from last year, because I actually felt that we were stronger this year than we were last year. So, a 9th through 12th placing was the minimum, but we were also put into the group of death, so anything could have gone. When groups were announced, I looked at it and I was like, wow, that is a tough group. Because you have W7M, who is arguably the best team all year. You have Koi, who was Rogue at that time, who won the Berlin Major. You have G2. You have SSG, G2 and SSG were former SI champs. And then you have us, who our most recent placing was a top 8 finish at Berlin. So looking at those 4 other teams, I was trying to see which one of the 4 or which one of the 5 would be the one to get grouped.
It was a very early advantage here for Elevate, but they've not been able to capitalize on it. Mr. Punch is now in. A second player will come through as well, but the impact grenades are going to be actually opening up the road for them. Keys is going to be taken down from across on the actual cigar balcony. Now it's a 2-on-3 fight. JV92 gets taken out. It's on left to Forbes. Onigiri comes in with that mark, takes them all out with the DMR.
That Onigiri can't swing their way in. 15 seconds. They're going to have to go for a big rotate. Volps locks the door, shuts down Mark, gets a lot of damage to the next, but it's Mr. Punch and Sapper to find one apiece, leaving just JV92. They know where he is, and Elevate. Now they pull back 15 seconds, and they catch them on the rotate back through onto site. They've got to see if they can get this kit down, and the kit gets dropped right on the face of the door itself. They're pushing in. Herds is able to get one more. It's just Onigiri, but it's an ace to wrap up this first map. Julio can hold F and get this stuck. That's the important part. Onigiri, they're pre-firing, they're pushing, they're able to take out the third box fight. There's a break, there's a swing, there's the kill and revenge. KZ is all that's left, not for very long. And well, they're able to get it back. Getting dropped just on the swing round on the door itself. Another smoke in 30 seconds. And there is a huge take to put all the pressure in the world on Mr. Punch. Gets one, cannot find the second. And W7M get a clean.
Thoughts going into the W7M game was it was gonna be a tough game just because of how our playstyles match up. It was something that we've proven that we could take them, toe to toe before, as shown in Berlin, where we went to game 3 and we lost game 3 in overtime, and both games were 1v1s. But at the same time, W7M got stronger with the Julio roster change. So it was one where, it was after not playing a major in stage 3, it was kind of a good indicator to see where we would stand, as I definitely thought W7M was one of the favorites, and it showed as they made it all the way to the finals. Our thoughts coming out of the W7M game was, I was pretty optimistic still, just because we made a few mistakes which led to some of the rounds going over to W7M. I believe the score was 7-3, 7-4, and in W7M's favor. But I think the matchup was a lot closer than the score line depicted.
Can push again. 20 seconds. Yeti gets one. Gets so excited he finds himself another in Fultz. I'm not sure how much it's going to matter though. Mark manages to get Rampy. 13 seconds left to go. It leaves us in a 4 versus 3. Elevate have numbers, but not for long as Bosco headshot onto DCH. We've got kills going in both directions. Mark gets in. Might just get this diffuser down, but no. Yeti, he steps out with an important kill. And once again, SSG, they just show they are in full control of the basement as they try to get in and start getting the diffuser down. Fultz is leading the way first of all. What a beauty from Sapper. Onagiri finds one from elbow as well, and all of a sudden it's a 4 versus 2. Bosco and Hot and Cold, and Bosco has the diffuser, but he's out in the cold all alone really. No support on that side of the map. He tries to do his best, but shut down by DCH. Diffuser down cold, and it's a matter of time until Elevate win their first defense. Borders as it starts coming in. There's one player left alive. Yeti somehow in there able to get the diffuser down and extend the clock. It's 2v1. Mr. Punch is
the puck is going down in games. That's a critical team call error that has cost them the round and cost them the map. SSG taking Elevate's map pick.
Yes, sir. Tyler on 3. 1, 2, 3. Tyler! Let's go!
Soon, because you've always got to give yourself a second roll of the dice. Out comes the Nitro unsuccessfully. Hot manages to find Onagiri, but there's 2 kills, 3 kills come back for Elevate, and they fought their way back into this round. Rampy has diffuser in hand, but that's about all he's got going for him right now. It's 1 versus 3. There's not a chance of a plant, and he's not going to manage to get any of the kills that he needs, and that's going to be the first round to Elevate. Just going to shoot off the Selma charges, but preoccupied and gets taken down by Mark. 14 seconds left to go. 3 versus 4. Elevate need to get in there and get some kills. There's unlikely to be an opportunity to get the diffuser down anytime immediately. Yeti manages to find Mark. Hot finds Sapper, and that is looking like it could be it for the round. Onagiri cannot get in there, and SSG canisters aren't going to make that easy at all. That's going to be a beautiful kill from Hot, and in a second Fultz finishes one off with a smoke canister as well, and that is it. Job done for SSG.
Our thoughts going into the SSG game, knowing our track record against NA teams, I felt that we were, one of probably favorite to get in or to get past them, simply because the only NA team that we've lost to was Sonics at the previous SI. So heading into it, we're pretty optimistic and hoping to get at least 3, if not 4 points, and putting us in prime position to make it out of groups. My thoughts after the second loss to SSG was that we have 2 games left to back still. There was no break for us because our off day was on the very last day, where we just needed to get as many points as possible. It was a heartbreaking loss, but it was something where I knew that the boys would be able to bounce back and do their best and make it out of groups.
Pick. So I don't know if that's likely to happen. Kanto firing back downtown as Deepak got the very first kill, and there's Cryan taking DCH off of the rope to the world. Problem is, you got to get in the building.
was gonna say, Elevate suffering the same problems round and round again. Great crossfire. The swing does not come out. Mark finds the first kill. Has to battle every single member at once. It's Kanto with another on the board.
But then he does. It certainly looked like that would have been a free kill for Elevate. There go the Candelas. Mark, a nice shot on the Cryan. That totally pushes away anybody inside a garage with Kanto Racketti's in the middle of the bomb site. 10 seconds to go. He has to take engagement. Sloppiness on intel. Leon Gids in a desperation of a 1v2. And Elevate ties the game. Gunfight of him versus Cryan. Leon Gids now in the action. Onigiri is actually creating an opportunity and takes out Deepak as well.
I mean, Leon's on the side, but you can't plant right now. Nope, he's not even alive any longer.
This is Koi's map, by the way, and Elevate have just sent him to overtime. Deepak the drop to go on in, down goes Spoit. Now Mark gets caught out by Kanto Racketти. Onigiri, do you have magic in those fingers of yours? Deepak takes some damage as he walks through the Capkin trap. Onigiri needs to check to his left. He doesn't do that. No, at least from that one goo mine. Deepak continuing to take damage. Now it's Spoit's turn to step into the goo mine, and Mark will capitalize on one. Gets them both! Good Lord, Elevate! Woohoo! Down he goes. 15 seconds left and only 2 members of Koi. Cryan will wait out the flashbangs as he has his gadget up, and it's a huge play from Koi to take them all down, with the exception of Sapper, who's in the bomb site, but they have intel on him, and there's no way he's going to find both kills. The comeback for Koi is now towards 2 rounds to go, and it's Cryan now who will be watched over by the Blitz. But he's got his glasses on. DCH hoping for a nice shot, and he loses it, but Koi doesn't. They don't lose anything.
Going into the Koi game, you know, I think for the boys, I wanted them to get at least 1 map to gain their confidence. Just because after every game, the W7M and the SSG game, you know, they would go back to the practice room, debrief in terms of like what they did, what they could have done better, and you can tell that the morale was kind of low. So you know, I took the boys bowling just to lighten their moods, to get them out of the setting of, you know, they've been in the practice room for hours now, just for them to get out to see Montreal. And to just take the pressure off of them. I think with each loss, they kind of felt the pressure of, you know, wanting to make it out of groups, and, you know, heading into the Koi match, it was really close. Coming out of the Koi loss, it was gut-wrenching, but, you know, the probability was that we weren't out of it just yet. I think the one scenario that would have gotten us out of groups was if we had 2-0 G2, and if G2, you know, hindsight is 50-50, G2 ended up making all the way to the finals. So, you know, there's nothing that we could have done. You know, the games against Koi were really close. We lost 7-8 on Bank, and then we lost 5-7 on Chalet after being up 5-1, I believe. So, you know, definitely it was tough on the boys. It was tough on everybody, you know, fans, supporters, even myself. But, you know, knowing that there was still a possibility for us to get out of groups, that was the hope that we were clinging on, and praying that, you know, that exact scenario would happen.
Slower, slightly more coordinated set of the wide swing that was still covering now. They've got to try and beat their way through the remaining site. Unfortunately, with how much still stands, Virtue's able to pick up Mr. Punch on the drum side. DCH stepped in, hoping they swing their way from gold. It's the fight over. Into Geisha, back towards the opposite end of gold. Just sees the end of Doki, but Doki has the first trigger. Virtue's about to get a bit of a strike here onto gold. If they don't know about Mark, well, Mark might make them know. There's one. Sapper gets one as well, and Blur. When it was a 1 versus 1, and now it's, well, not going to be one either. Elevate, once again in the lead.
Punch both find one. He does go quite low, but it's back in a 3-on-3 situation. Scrap down coming through as Blur and Elamat both will pick up one.
in seconds. Virtue's on the second story, keeping the lockdown and cutting the rotate. There's a swing round and Mr. Punch. He suddenly has a straight eye right towards where Blur is. They're going to see if they can try and force the fight first, and they do. Massive one from Blur. He's going to get the bomb, get this stuck down on Aguirre's concerned about the rotate. The star talisman player for a team cannot quite make the mark, and G2, they can...
Picked up.
I think he is either.
I don't think he was aware of the fact that someone was above, but Alamau's there for the cover, so Blur stays. Oh, as Alamau and Doki both find another. So they up the mark now with a slight
step back in one side, Alamau's low on the other. And once again, Alamau and Doki underneath. Satellas is just as vital to this. Sapper, he loses out the fight on the swing round, but Mr. Punch does take Alamau in the same breath. And as Mr. Punch is trying to fight his way back in, it's on Aguirre that finds Doki snuck up the stairs, but Benja catches the blindside sprint, and Virtue finds one. And once again, between these two teams, a 1 versus 1. Gonna have to push himself closer and closer. The rotate down to the bottom of square. He's going underneath, and he shoots to the top. Benja! They fire over the top, they know where he is. He tries to make a bit of a response with the SMG secondary, but he can't. Sapper, he did a 3 versus 1 earlier. It's a 5 versus 1 here, but it's not his this time round. G2.
Final game going into G2 is kind of like a all or nothing kind of scenario where we needed the 2-0 G2. The boys were trying something different. They're like, hey, let's just go in, let's adapt and see what we can do. It was really close. I think both games were 7-8, 5-7. And, you know, unfortunately, it didn't get into our favor. And it was something that, you know, I'm sure the boys will learn and bounce back from. Overall thoughts after groups would be, you know, I think if we were in any other group, I think we could have done a little bit better and made it out of groups. If you look at the teams in our groups, we had 4 teams in the top 12, 3 teams in the top 6, and both teams from the grand finals were in our group. Koi lost to Astralis on a 1v1 game 3 map round 15. So, you know, we could have had 3 teams in the top 4. Looking back at it, it was unfortunate that we were placed in the, you know, quote unquote group of death. But then again, you know, the philosophy is if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And you know, for SI 2023, we didn't show up, or there were just teams that were better than us. I think there were a lot of factors with Oni leaving. Prior to SI, Oni had expressed interest in wanting to play in NAL or the EUL. And so I told him that, hey, let's wait till after SI, see how it goes, and, you know, from there we can, you know, explore our options. But I think there were just a lot of things taken into account, which was what led to Oni wanting to leave the team. And, you know, for his own reasons, I respect that, and, you know, definitely wish Oni the best in his future endeavors moving forward. So going into 2023, we were exploring all options. We were thinking about going to NAL. We were also thinking about potentially going to LATAM or staying in Southeast Asia. So, you know, exploring all 3 options, trying to see which of the 3 is the most cost efficient for us. Because as you know, in 2023, the world of esports, there's just a lot of budget cuts that, you know, orgs have to be cautious with their money. And that's something we really took into account, where we were trying to figure out, as a business, how can we stay in the positive, or, you know, not lose as much money for 2023. And ultimately, we decided to stay in APAC still. We love the fans in APAC. We love representing APAC. We love being APAC's last hope. And I hope that, you know, we can continue doing that the fans will continue to support us with this new roster. And, you know, hopefully we can make you guys proud. So ultimately, we signed Roosters, which is ex-Gaiman. The roster consists of Toji, Ape, Speakeasy, Barcode, and Healthcare. So it was a mix where Barcode was a rank star that they pick up. Everybody knows Speakeasy. He is, one of the best players in APAC. And when I saw the opportunity to pick him up, it was something where I just couldn't not do it. It will really help with the team in terms of firepower and his leadership and experience that he's had playing in the scene for all those years. Next up is Healthcare. Healthcare was, formerly known as Spacehead, or vice versa. He goes by either or. And, he was part of the Fury roster that came in. He was someone where I was like, hey, he speaks English. He's a, really good player. It adds to the team in terms of consistency. And then the last two players were from ex-Skyman in terms of Ape and Tolji. Both players cracked out of their minds, really good, in terms of fragging power. And I'm excited to see, these five come together and represent Elevate in the upcoming Southeast Asian League. My expectations for this roster would just to, do what they need to do to gel as a team. Obviously, with a new team, it's hard to expect results right off the bat. Any CEO, any fan would be like, hey, we want to win right off the bat, but, it also takes time, right? I believe that this team has a high ceiling, and in order to do that, they just need to build more chemistry and, just have more time together as a team.